Still does commentating on ESPN.
Yeah,
Oh, he does?
I think he's down in the Carolinas or someplace.
Yeah.
Where he lives.
I bet he's
Ready?
somewhere close to that.
Right.
All right, I called this Town of Vinalhaven Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 to order. Roll call, Jake Thompson, Leslie Dyer's absent, Don Young, myself, Pam Alley, Marjorie Staton, town manager, and Elizabeth Bunker, deputy town clerk, taking minutes. I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Well, I thought we were moving him up.
Sorry, let's go back.
You still can take it out of order.
Yeah, we'll just take it out of order.
Okay,
The agenda
yeah.
is set
All right.
as presented. All right, so all those in
Yes,
favor?
it is.
Okay, there we go. Number 3, approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Approve and sign treasurer's warrants number 47. So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
I assume we got 3 signatures, right?
Yes. we got
do you
that
want to look
right.
at them?
Number 5, communications.
I don't have any.
Okay. Move on. Number 6, speakers from the floor.
David's here for the bid opening.
Okay. Anybody online?
Mm-mm.
No? All right, then we'll move. We will go to 9, old business, meeting with Aaron Weston of CAI Technologies. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So yes, so CAI provides mapping and GIS services to nearly 700 communities throughout the Northeast. Our headquarters are based in Littleton, New Hampshire, but we have staff such as myself. We're about just under, I think, 24 or 25 people right now, somewhere's right around there. About half those staff work in the Littleton office. The rest of us are remote and work from remote locations. So I do business development for the company. And we provide these mapping and GIS services, like I said, to nearly 700 communities. And they range anywhere from, full-scale mapping projects like what we're talking about for the town of Vinalhaven, to setting up custom online GIS applications, to doing GPS data collection for water, sewer, stormwater systems, that kind of thing. Right. And so Travis had reached out to me, the assessor, asked me to come in, take a look at the maps, and I did that a couple months ago. And we looked at the maps. Right now, there's kind of a combination of 1991 Sewell maps that had all the dimensions and all the text and everything on them. Okay, at one point, those were digitized, and then were last updated in 2014. So there hasn't been any updates since 2014. And looking at that data from 2014, when you overlay it and you look at it with aerial photography in the background in the GIS, you can see issues with parcel alignment as far as the road right of way and parcel lines through buildings and that type of thing. So, talking to, Marjorie and Travis, we really kind of offer 2 or 3 different scenarios to municipalities as far as compiling a set of tax maps, depending on the accuracy that the town's looking for, right? And based on what the existing source documents are as well. And considering the source documents that the town has, as far as those old tax maps and the parcel lines and the digitizing that was done on those originally, isn't of that high a quality, we determined, and CAI is making a recommendation to the town that a complete record research mapping project be done. And that's where we go in, we gather all the information that the town has. I think there was like roughly, Travis and I counted 270 survey plans upstairs in the file drawers, as well as what's available at the registry. So we gather all that information and organize it. And then we capture new aerial photography. And from that aerial photography, compile a planimetric base map. And that planimetric base map includes digitizing of fences, stone walls, building outlines, edge of pavement, features that are very identifiable, but also when you're reading deeds and looking at survey plans are oftentimes lines of occupation that will be referenced on those plans or help you geo-reference and put those plans onto the base map. Okay. So when you do that kind of work, being an island community, a lot of the deeds will reference, the water, as far as their parcel boundary goes along the water, is mean high tide or, that kind of thing. And so, one of the recommendations would be with that aerial photography capture, identifying what that elevation is for mean high tide. And then that contour line can be digitized on the maps all the way around the island to provide a better starting point for those parcel boundaries that are the water frontage, okay, as well as when we're creating a new shoreline zoning map, being able to do the proper setbacks from that elevation versus using a water line that doesn't match. Because when you have the aerial photography, depending on when that's captured, the tide could be different and everything else. So it's very hard to determine where that appropriate water line is for doing like shoreline zoning and stuff like that. So as part of that planimetric mapping project, that elevation can be digitized around the island as well. And so typically what would happen is the aerial photography would be flown, the planimetric base map is created, and then all the documents are gathered, organized, categorized, so that we can start with the newest surveys first and compile those and work our way back. So once we start working our way back, you get to the point where you've used up the survey plans, and then you try to fill in the rest of the parcels with deeds. And you start with those deeds that have a good description. Some are not. Some are just going to say they're bounded by this person and that person, and but you try to build all the parcels around that prior to settling on that deed. And then as part of this project, all the dimensions are captured that are on the survey plans and the deed. So when you're done, you'll have a very rich parcel data set that has all these legal description as far as the dimensions go on your source maps. And then once we do that, we typically if I back up a second, as part of that, we would create a new map sheet layout for the town. Okay, so that would allow us to create new scales for your tax maps. So I don't remember specifically what the old scales were, but let's say they were 400s and 200s. There may be some areas of town now that have been built up more since those original maps, and the parcels are so small, it's hard to put all those dimensions on the parcels and have them reflected on the map. So now by making those parcels at a 100 scale map or a 50 scale map, depending on the density, we can now then put all those dimensions in there so that they're clear and legible and can be
What
seen.
does that mean, 100 scale?
Like
map?
100
100 feet to the inch.
Hmm.
So like if you took a scale out and measured on it, the distance. And I think you may have some that are hundreds of, I think a lot of them were 200 scale. And for you get into an area that's where the lots are small and densely populated, you really need to be at 100 scale at the max, maybe even 50 scale. So we create the new tax maps. We provide those for the town to review, take a look at. Once you guys are good with them, we would have staff come to the island for a day and you would make the maps available ahead of time to the public and let folks know that, hey, representatives from CAI are going to be here. So if you disagree with the way that your parcel is drawn on the new maps, bring in what documentation you have. Maine's kind of unique in that you do not have to record a survey plan, right? So some people, you come to one of these meetings and they'll pull out a survey plan that wasn't available at the registry, the town didn't have, and that kind of thing. So, we'll take any information that they have, finalize the maps, and then once the maps are finalized, we'll make that data available through an online interactive website. And when you're in the website, this is the site that we have for Camden. We do Camden, Rockland, Rockport, as far as right in this area. We did this same project for North Haven a few years ago, but Tammy, the assessor there, she hasn't completed her review, and so their site is still password protected, and we're waiting to make that public. But when you have a site like this, the idea of one of these sites is it can save town staff a significant amount of time, because you may not get a lot of foot traffic coming into the town office wanting information, but I'm certain that you probably get a lot of phone calls and emails and that type of thing. And most of that should go away once you have one of these online sites set up and available, right? So users can come in here and they can search for an owner based on address, parcel ID, or owner name. And the more you type in, the more it's going to filter down the results. You click on the parcel, it zooms to it. And you'll see a lot of the base map layers that would be available on the tax map. So in this case, if we did the planimetric mapping for you, you'd have the building outline, and here's a property with, the boundary dimensions from their deed. If you have, do you have photos and sketches in Trio?
Mhm.
So if you have photos, those primary photos get linked. We can put the sketch in here, and then we'll create a tax card as well. Now, in Camden, they use Vision, where you guys use Trio, I assume, right? So we would set up a tax card similar to this with the Trio information that's available and is coming in to the platform. And the town can decide, what fields you want to make available and what fields you don't. So we can bring in the property information. If you were ever to start doing any type of had permits in a permitting database, we can link the permitting information to the system. The idea being, make this one-stop shop so that if somebody goes to a parcel and they want to see any information on it, they can get it. We have tools where the town could start linking documents to these parcels. So if you have some parcels that aren't on town septic, but they're on, they have their own septic, private septic, then, you could link the septic design to the parcel. So if somebody clicked on the parcel, there would be a link here that would say septic drawing. And same thing with permits. If you're only doing permits in a hard copy fashion, we have tools that would allow you to link documents to the parcels, and those documents could be staff only accessible or publicly available. So you can get this information now. Town staff, anything that's in the search results here can be exported. We can get mailing labels for them. So if you wanted to, for some reason, send notifications to everybody on Spring Street, you're going to be doing some work on Spring Street or whatever, and you wanted to reach out to all these individuals. You'll see that all the properties here get a pin on them. These ones on the corner may be addressed off of a different parcel, off of a different road, so I could go ahead, add them to my list. And so when I do, like I said, I could get a PDF report. I could download this into a spreadsheet to use in a mail merge or that type of thing. And then I can get mailing labels, and you just go right to your mailing labels and print those off for all those individuals.
Very cool.
So these kind of tools, again, can really help save town staff a significant amount of time. If you need to do any type of a butters reporting, when you have a property selected, you can come in here, you can put in whatever distance you want to find the abutters for, say select, it buffers all those parcels. And again, I could get a butters report now that would tell me the subject property as well as 500-foot abutters list, and then gives me the physical and mailing address for all those individuals. And again, I could print out the mailing labels for them and that kind of thing.
Very cool.
You have data layers. So in this scenario here, let me just clear those out. A lot of these are data layers that we can bring in from state sources or federal sources, such as, FEMA data layers. So if you want to see how FEMA data affects the parcels, you can turn on that data layer. And as we expand it, you'll see what the, different flood hazard categories are. And this is where, your zoning, shoreland zoning data layers could be included into the site, that kind of stuff. So we can have all these different data layers. If you have sewer and water, they can be added. And they can be put onto a staff only login as well. So if the town doesn't want certain data layers available to the public, you want them staff only, that can be done. And that's good too, if you're ever doing like comp plan work or things like that, and you have some data layers that aren't ready for public review yet, but you want to use them internally, planning board and others to look at them, they could use this site and do that and have them in there. You have some different tools if you want to come in here and mark up a map, there's drawing tools. So you could add lines, points, polygons, text. You can type on the map and make your own little map with whatever data and features you want on here. You can edit these. And then I can share them with individuals. So now if I was to copy this URL and send that to Marjorie and she opened it, it would open this site, zoom to the same location, turn on the same layers, and she would see exactly what I'm looking at. And then she could move these, she could go in and edit these and move them around and create a new URL and send it back to me. So it's a good way to collaborate that way. Now you can also print this off. So when you print, right, you can come in here and choose your paper size, choose your orientation, set a particular scale if you want. You can add a map title. You can choose legend. If I choose legend, it messes up the scale. Put the scale back. Type in the title. And then you say print PDF. And it's going to generate a PDF for whatever is on our screen, whether it was the abutters functionality, these markups, the different layers, that kind of thing. All that's going to be available to you in the PDF. When you do turn on the legend, it does take a little bit, just takes a few more seconds to create that PDF because it's looking to see what layers out of all these you have turned on and are within inside your printable area. But you know, here's the map, here's your legend, title at the top, scale, that kind of stuff. Aerial photography. So we'll bring in different aerial base maps. So there's really 3 different tabs here for base maps that the town has to choose from. Now we build this using a software that we license from Esri. Esri is like the Microsoft of mapping softwares. Okay, so it's the industry standard. We use that and we kind of put that on steroids to create this Access GIS platform. But Esri makes available certain base maps, and we default with the streets base map, but they have an aerial photography base map that's available. And with that, you can hover over this eye to determine when it was flown. Now you can see this imagery is not that great. It was leaf on imagery. Resolution isn't all that great. I'm not sure, you know, who captured it or for what the purpose was. But then under the local tab, this is where your custom imagery would be. And in this case, imagery that was flown, you know, for Camden as part of the state project. And this area would have been flown at that same time as well. So we would have not only the new imagery available here, but also older imagery. And
How much training do people typically need?
yeah, so this is designed to be, you know, very user friendly. And honestly, you know, if a person gets in and just starts playing around here, it's very simple and easy to learn. But as part of our hosting agreement with the town, we'll provide you, you know, as much training as you need. You know, we can log in remotely and do screen shares and that type of stuff. We'll provide you with a good training session when we first roll out the site. But then as, you know, new staff come on board or things like that, if you want some additional training, you know, we'll do it and we'll provide that. I'm not sure why those data sets aren't loading. I'm gonna have to check into that. But here's Google Earth imagery. Again, this isn't that great, honestly. It's the pixel resolution is probably pretty good, but it was flown leaf on, so that it's hard to see the ground. And that's one of the things with our project with you and with the state data sets. It would be flown, we could fly it either this fall or in the spring. It really wouldn't change the overall delivery of the end date if we were to do it in the spring. And that's honestly what I would recommend for 2 reasons. One, shadows aren't as long in the springtime as they are in the fall. And the color of the imagery is a little bit better in the springtime. And then it would be like 6 months newer as well. And it really wouldn't, again, set back the delivery of the overall project, because we have other projects that we're wrapping up to even get to that. And then we can still start to gather the source documents and do that kind of stuff without having the imagery available. So, and then you just have some other tools. you know, we'll have zoom in, zoom out. If you're using this in a on a mobile device, you can zoom to your location. And then there's also links out to, I don't know, you guys could tell me about, I don't know if is Google driven the streets in Vinalhaven or not, as far as street view goes. If-
Probably not.
I have no idea.
If-
I never
if-
tried that.
If they have, then this imagery would be, linked and available, to you as well from the street side of things. So I guess, what do you got for a
if-
question?
If new data becomes available, is it easy to have it
Oops.
added into the site? So if there are new permits added or new lots come up, or
Yes,
if Google imagery finally shows up, can all that be easily added in after the fact?
so with some of the things, like if all of a sudden Google drove the data set and they put that into their Google Maps environment, it would automatically show up in here.
Okay,
We have a license agreement with them where we get access to that through this little API configuration.
Yep.
And so if they update their imagery, it automatically gets updated.
okay,
As far as any new state imagery goes, when that data is available, we would sync it up and make it available in the project. As far as the data layers go, so when we look at all these data layers, as part of our hosting agreement, once a year, we will upload new or revised data layers as part of our standard hosting agreement. If the town, which is $3,000 a year, if the town needed to or wanted to upload a data set that came outside of the once annual update, which we would typically coincide with your parcel splits. So April 1, after everything is received to everything being current to April 1, we process those deeds. Maybe it's, whenever the assessor gets them to us, but let's say it's July or August and we finalize the tax maps for the year. That's about the time we would do the annual update and put the data in. But let's say in December, a new data set came available to you and you were like, we need to get this on the site. Then, it's a flat $250 fee to
okay,
put it on outside of, and that wouldn't matter if it was 1 layer or 30 layers. It's just a flat
flat fee, one
flat
time
fee,
fee,
yeah.
okay,
Now the owner information, as far as what's in Trio, when we set the site up, we'll install a tool here on a computer in the town office that would allow staff here to do an export out of Trio and upload that information to our site as often as they wanted to. So when you go in, you want to see who owns the property or doing a butters list and that kind of stuff. That's on the town to update that as frequently as you want.
okay,
And so we provide that tool as part of the setup.
okay,
And so, as far as the, cost goes, to do the complete mapping project, roll this out, provide the first year of service for the online GIS site and stuff like that, we were looking at a total cost of $267,600. Is what we propose. And that, like I said, that would be a 3-year project that would really be 24, 25 with a delivery at the end of 26
okay.
calendar years, end of 26.
And then you said that also includes the first year of,
That's the first year of hosting, this data is included in that,
yep,
okay? And the maps would be current to April 1 of 26 when we delivered it,
okay,
okay?
and then it's 3,000 a year after that, is that
For
correct?
the online hosting
Yep.
and $2,000 a year for maintenance of the tax maps with new deeds and survey
Okay.
plans, changes like that. So
So, because you had said Marjorie, it was
Five.
five.
Five total.
I was just,
Yep.
just making sure.
Yep.
Okay, Yep,
so that's kind of that breakdown.
yep,
Yeah, so that's, that's kind of the overall summary. When you have these data, when we have an online GIS site like this, again, there's additional tools and functionality that the town can grow into, like the linking of documents and things like that, if there's interest in doing that kind of stuff. And then we can also build data layers based off of Trio information. So like you were talking about tree growth earlier, right? And so we could build a layer off of what's in the Trio database to indicate the parcels in tree growth. And so when we do that, the town pays a one-time fee, something like that. It might be $1,200 to build that layer. And then it's based off of what's in Trio. So once we create the layer, if you upload new Trio data to our site and the property's either been taken out or put into tree growth, the layer automatically refreshes. So we can build data layers, like that. We do some that, for some towns, they want to see all the sales that have taken place in the last 2 or 3 years, and we'll create a data layer that will show that, last year's blue, the year before that's red, that kind of thing. Or, and those might be public, but then on the staff side of things, maybe the assessor wants to see a layer that shows sales ratios and compares sale price to assessed value. And they could see that layer, but that may only be staff only accessible, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Interesting.
The technology seems pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
The question though is, the assessor would have a lot of use for it.
Yep.
I'm assuming the clerk
yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
The planning board banner already asked us to do it
Yeah.
when he was here at that.
So we
last
got
meeting.
plenty of need there.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and you folks, I mean, for a small community, it's a little bit unusual, like you have water, right? Town water, some town septic, there's sewer.
Yep.
Right, and so those data layers, if they're in a GIS or in AutoCAD or GIS format, we can get those from those consultants and bring that data into the site as well. So, and it gives you the ability to then, for people to be able to look at a parcel and, quickly know, is water available here or sewer, that kind of thing. Where are the extents of that?
and then we have rising tides.
Yeah. Yeah, that, I mean, for sure, it's a real thing, right?
Mm.
So,
Anyone have any other questions? Aaron?
No, I don't. Not that I can think of.
I don't know.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you for
yeah,
that.
Yeah, I didn't know what we were talking about when we were just talking about, it, but now I have an idea. So
Yeah,
It's good to see it. I tried to look at the North Haven one, but I couldn't find, obviously, that-
Yeah.
I couldn't find it because
Yeah.
it's not on there.
yeah, it's not available yet.
That's interesting.
How long has it been since they've been working on it?
2017.
2018,
Oh.
yeah. And when we rolled the maps out several years ago to Tammy, and
she hasn't finished.
it's
her
taken
part
a
of it.
long time to,
Not a high priority.
long time to review them. I mean, they're working with the new data and stuff, but she was doing she had also asked us to give her a comparison of acreage analysis. So, once we have the parcels all mapped in the GIS, we took and we have so you have the shape of the parcel as it's mapped. We can calculate that square footage based on the GIS. And then you also have the acreage that is documented on the survey plan or the deed. And then you also may have the acreage that they were previously assessing on in Trio that, who knows where it came from.
Hmm.
So we provided her analysis of all three of those. And she's looking at and wants to compare and understand the differences on some of these parcels before she makes this all available. And that review is taking a long time.
One of the concerns I have is not your department, but it's a question of the inaccuracy. A lot of our tax maps and much of the surveys, I don't have a lot of confidence in. So is there a way to make corrections along the way?
Well, I mean, we're not doing, if the surveys are incorrect, if the survey is incorrect, we may discover that,
Okay.
right? And be able to provide you that information to say, there's something wrong here. This isn't matching up.
Because I've looked at old tax maps here and I know damn well those lines are way off.
Yeah, and right, and that's the biggest reason for starting with the survey plans and starting from scratch, and that is the inaccuracy of the data that you already have.
Yeah.
And this process will give you the most accurate data that you can have for tax mapping, short of hiring one surveyor and asking them to survey the entire island,
Mhm.
right? Which would be, millions of dollars.
Impossible.
Yeah, and they're not cheap.
the rest of their lives to do.
Yeah, I was gonna
Well,
say,
yeah,
they'd never
right,
get
right.
it done.
So, if the town, if and when the town's ready to move forward with this, we would prefer a formal contract for you guys to review and to take a look at. Really what we would just need to know and understand as far as wording of that contract and stuff is, how the town would be funding this and that, would it be contingent on town meeting each year as far as budget goes? Because we have some towns that, they would have this money and they would allocate it and it wouldn't be contingent on town meeting each year. And so we don't have to put that in the contract, but in some cases, no, they're gonna divide that into 3. And each year it's gonna be contingent on town meetings, and we need to make sure we word that into the project. The unfortunate thing is, if you do that, we haven't had a town yet where they didn't approve it the following year,
Oh,
but
yeah,
if you get into it in 2 years and they didn't approve it the 3rd year, well, there's really no deliverables until you can eventually approve it to
right.
finish the work.
That's okay. No one shows up to town meetings around here anyway.
I don't, did we have it in for this budget
We
year?
do.
We do have it,
I
have
put
that.
it in there to use the ARPA funds.
right,
That's
And
right.
to,
Yes.
and to enter into a 3-year contract.
okay, yes, I don't anticipate having issues. No, town meeting. for that,
Especially
so-
not if we all recommend it.
So it
Yeah.
wouldn't have to be every year, we'd get approved this year and we'd be good to go, so that's the plan right now.
Well, certainly, if you have any more questions, let me know.
Okay.
Be happy to answer. them.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thanks for coming out.
Yes.
It's not
It's really
easy.
interesting.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll
that's
make
good.
sure that we don't take as long as other towns to get it.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah, I see her all the time. I see her annually at an assessors conference. When are you gonna finish this up, but
It's kind of a lot of money to leave hanging.
yeah, I mean, they've got the benefit of the tax map and
Right.
stuff like that, but
But the public
But
can't
the
use it.
public can't use it, and even internally, they could be getting so much more, from it. Yeah, I don't know if other town staff hopefully other town staff are utilizing it and taking advantage of it under the password protection, and, they're just holding off on making it available,
Mm,
but, that's been happening for about the past year. But even approving of the tax maps took a couple of years.
She said she's very happy. When I talked to
Yeah,
her,
yeah,
she's happy with the product, so.
yep.
All right, we will go to,
You wanna move David? or-
yeah, let's go to 8, new business, be open mowing bids, excuse me.
There are 2 bids that came in, excuse me. Bruce Groening?
Mm,
I don't know how to pronounce it, I
Groening,
apologize.
Groening, yeah.
That's 45,000. I'm sorry. David Brown, 52,000 a year. What a difference.
Mm.
So right now it's 43 with Jensen Bruns.
Can we see the bids?
Oh, sure.
Jensen didn't submit a bid for,
No.
okay,
Has he? He's still mowing that. right?
Yeah,
He's
His
just
contract
contracted.
go through June.
Yeah,
should go through
yes.
June, yes.
Bruce said in his bid that he will adhere to the requirements for the insurance. I asked David still has his insurance and workers' comp.
That's a lot. It's 11,000. I mean.
7.
Mhm. This is.
you just
Yeah.
said.
Well, you don't have to award the bid this evening if you want to wait and do some investigating. You have questions.
We had a deadline of the 19th, right?
The deadline for the bids was the,
Last Friday.
Yeah, Friday. Okay.
I think we should discuss it now that you put it over. Put it
It's
down.
fine with me. And the. Does anyone have discussion motion?
Um. Do you want to discuss?
I mean, the current contract's 43,
And Bruce's is what?
45.
Hmm. David Joe's is considerably higher.
That's what you're gonna get the quality of work, or you know, if you will depend what you know I do
Well,
for the past 16 years.
you gave it up last year.
Yeah, like I am, they is. Out of the.
This covers cemeteries and all the town property.
Is that done?
Sorry.
What mowing does this cover? Is it all the
cemeteries,
cemeteries?
the town parks and
Town,
the
yeah.
properties in town, like the Galamander and the bandstand area,
I can get a copy.
the
of proposal.
monument. Oh, I
You have
have it
it?
right here. Yeah.
Okay, I think that.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, are there any references required on these, to go back and is there a way to distinguish between the quality of work that we have access to?
I don't have any references. I mean, that's what I mean by if you want, I mean, David had worked for the town doing the cemeteries for years.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about the other bidder.
I know him. I don't,
yeah, because I agree with David, there's price and there's quality of the work, and I'm not sure how to make that judgment.
Plus, the cost of living going up every year too, so. Yeah,
Oh, really?
really, I mean, anybody don't know yet.
what's that, David?
We also didn't
Cost
put
of
that
living
much
goes
money in
up.
the
Yeah, well,
budget.
then we all know
I don't
that.
know if that's a thought that,
What's that, Marjorie?
we didn't put that much money in the budget for cemeteries, parks.
What do we have in the budget?
I think it was in that 40, 43 to 45.
Mhm.
Well, it's broken down between cemeteries and parks.
And town property, probably something that I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, the parks pays.
I'm
Is-
sorry, I should have that information.
Oh, how much
for you.
are
All right.
It's a horrible formula.
Yeah, they are very handy. Should put in the budget for office supplies.
It's
You don't have an estimate then,
70% of contract for mowing and maintenance of the cemeteries. We had and this, it was budgeted for 45K, so 33,750 is for cemeteries, and I assume the remainder is for the town property.
Mhm.
So it's budgeted at 4570 coming from cemeteries? Is that-
70% of the contract is for mowing of the cemeteries. Well. I mean, I do usually typically say we go with a lower number, but I also agree that. David has done the work before, did it for a long time without a substantial raise.
But, you know, the bid, you almost have to have the justification to be able to. You know, I can understand, but I don't, you know, I think it's.
Well, justification is how many times you guys put it on bid and get shit.
Nothing,
work, so
yeah,
to speak.
yeah.
Well, I
Or
don't think,
taking somebody cheaper.
the only time since I've been here, the only time we had somebody different was last year, so
Ron Nadeau and Bob Hawkins done it one year.
I wasn't on the board at that time, so
That was the year I had my, had that.
10. Well, it has to be at least 8 or 9 years ago.
How many hours involved with that?
Quite a bit, all you want to put into it.
Typically, what would you tell?
Keep track of the hours, I mean, I keep track of some of that on paper like they asked me to,
It's an hour. Yep.
but if they've long gone, pretty much full on job.
Would it help if we moved it ahead and asked Bruce to be here, or is that be appropriate?
I think we've got to have a reason to not accept the lower bid. I'm not sure that there's, right now, we have the information to make that decision.
Hmm,
Right.
Did you want me to ask Mr. Groening for references? Is that what you're getting at?
Or
For a meeting
Or
or
to
to come to the
come-
next?
to the next, like if we move this ahead to another meeting, the next meeting? Or would that not be,
I mean, it's up to you. You're,
I think we need to postpone till we have just a little more information, because I'd like to make sure that we're making the right decision. But it's not just cost, as you said, and I don't know how to get the other information right now.
and what is the information that you want
How
me to get?
to judge the quality of work somehow.
So we would need references from
Yeah,
Bruce then.
I think so.
Because,
You've seen me mowing right down by your house.
I know.
all right, so I think we're in agreement, we'll table this on deciding over the two bids at the next meeting. And we'd like Bruce to either attend or present us with some references so that we can better assess. Who we
Right.
think will do a better job.
Yep. Okay, I'm trying to be fair about it.
Okay. Henry's back. We will now move. Yeah, we'll make a decision on the next meeting. Thank you for coming.
thanks, David.
No problem.
Are we going back to 7 now?
Yes,
Okay, I just wasn't sure where we were going.
yeah, 7, committee and department reports and appointments, housing committee, what are we at? We can do this.
Yeah, so super easy. There's no,
Appoint Kristen Alley and Duncan Urquhart. Did I say-
Duncan Urquhart.
Urquhart, okay, thank you. To the housing committee,
So moved.
do we have
there are
Spots,
vacancies.
They
Yeah.
just took
Yep.
people off.
what are the
last time.
terms?
It's, it was
Okay.
yearly, but,
So we're
we're
keep,
hoping
I-
that they get their 501(c)(3) and then they're moving from a town
Oh,
committee
this was just
anyway.
an annual
Yeah.
appointment. There were no terms.
okay, so they would be on it
I'll second
until,
Dawn.
Until they turn into
until they turn
their,
to 501(c)(3).
Yeah.
All right,
I second on.
all those in favor? All right, there we go. The cemetery committee appoint Sharon Philbrook.
So moved.
Second,
Is there a term on that one?
2024.
All right, so
it's a 2-year term, 2024.
I move we appoint Sharon Philbrook to the cemetery committee for a 2-year term ending
6/24.
in June of 2024.
I think we had a second, or I'll second it anyway.
All in
Yeah.
favor? All right. C downtown project update.
That's just the update that we got from Word and Current.
Okay,
They're still working on easements.
Yeah, we've got, George Harrison, hasn't signed yet, which is a big one, and, I don't wanna. Anyway, I'm just reporting to you what's happening. So that's a big one, because if we don't get George, then we can't do any of the improvements on the sidewalk and the
side,
steps in
yeah.
front of the sandbar and, the island closet. So, at this point, we're just going to take that area out of the project because we have to send the design into EDA. And it's, there are a few easements that are hanging out there, but most of them are just that, oh, so-and-so is overseas and he's signed, but it's not notarized and, you know, tweaking an easement for somebody that just wanted some different language.
What's the delay with Jordan's?
I don't know that I could be specific on it, really.
Okay.
I'm not,
That's fine.
How critical is that?
well, it means that we can't do any of that work on,
On that
from
side,
clamshell over up to Water Street,
Right,
because we need, I mean, it's all graduated work,
right.
so,
There wouldn't be any sense to do the other two pieces of property if you didn't have
we
a
can't,
big thing sticking out there.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
would
you
just be-
can't, you
we
can't,
can't do
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna go away for a week starting tomorrow. And I asked George if he wanted to come in and talk to me today. But I didn't see him, so hopefully when I get back, we'll. You know, give him another opportunity to come in and talk.
okay.
Yeah, anyway, we're moving forward with the project.
Yeah, I mean, we should.
But if we get his easement, it could be added in at some point,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? No? Then we'll, excuse me, move on to 8, new business. Renew liquor license, Dotton Millies.
There's no issues with that thing, right? So,
It's.
all right, I'll make a motion, we
Beer, wine, and
grant
spirits.
their liquor license.
We need
Okay.
signatures on these.
All those in favor?
I mean, unless there's an issue that they
No, I-
paid or something, as
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Done.
No,
Okay.
long as
so
there's no
they wanted
issues.
to go fast.
I mean, yeah, it's a renewal, we had it before.
Yep.
no
not-
black lights or whatever.
I'm not aware of anything. I still haven't actually been there, so. While we're signing, we'll move on to 10, report of town manager.
I gave you all a budget report. Everything looks really good. We should be around 87.5%, and most of the departments are much lower than that. I didn't see anything of concern. I will be asking you sometime in June to do some write-offs on the Vinalhaven ambulance service. We changed services in 2018, I think it is, from what's her name?
T.J.
TJ
Higgins.
Higgins to a new service. So anything that we were
Trying to collect on
trying to
the
collect
old.
with her need to be written off, but I can give you more information. I'm not hoping, I'm going to get that done in June before this year end.
Okay,
But I want to get more information about ambulance revenue, et cetera, and how much we can write off this year or save till next year.
There are a lot of claims that didn't get taken care of with her.
All I have really at this point is a summary of each year on this sheet that I'm looking at.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't have any of the detail with me.
I mean, some of the people might be deceased, we don't know until we see the
That's
list. I
true.
mean,
yeah,
it'd be pretty easy, it would be pretty hard to collect on someone if they're no longer with us.
And at the
Yes,
same
I have.
time, I'm gonna ask that we increase the rates for the ambulance, but I'll make a presentation.
Are we not doing a Zoom tonight?
yeah.
It is.
Oh, I
It's
just.
just-
was
Oh, Aaron,
curious.
Aaron had
He
his
was-
computer hooked
He
up.
was presenting up there,
okay.
so.
I just was curious.
Unless anybody has any questions for me, I was trying to be quick about anything that I had to present.
Report of members. No,
I got 3 or 4 things, but I will hold off from next meeting because I know we want to get out of here.
All right, well, thank you. I mean, if they're pressing, if it's short, but that's great.
No, these are all, these can wait.
Okay,
all right, so our next meeting will be in 2 weeks, which is June 6th, yeah,
I do have a quick question about after annual town meeting,
yeah,
2 weeks after that is the 4th.
yeah, so,
So it's either meet the last week in June or then.
well, I'm gonna leave it up. the rest of the board to decide that, but yes, I would assume people don't want to meet on the fourth.
No, I
So
would-
I would probably push it to the next week.
Yeah, I
So
would
the-
think so.
The 11th.
I want my
We meet
birthday
the-
off.
We meet the sixth. The
Annual
2
town
weeks
board.
after that is annual town meeting. 2 weeks after that would be the fourth, so there's either the 27th of June or
I will not be here that week, so
the 11th of July, so it would be from the 21st of June, I mean, from the, sorry, yes, the 21st of June. To the 11th of July. Or,
be 3 weeks.
yeah,
Unless they met on the fifth instead of the fourth.
we could do that,
Can we do that?
third or the fourth.
I won't be
What are
on the
we
board
doing?
then, so I don't,
Well,
I don't
it's 2
want to.
weeks after.
Well,
town
unless you get
meeting,
written in.
4th of July, so they can either meet
What's what's the day, the 4th of July is on?
a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I mean Tuesday. so
I don't
the 5th
really
is
wanna-
Wednesday.
My daughter, both of my daughters are gonna be there here
I
that
don't think
week.
that's a good time because it's the holiday.
I would suggest moving it to the 11th.
Okay.
I mean, meeting a week after the
Yeah.
annual town meeting doesn't seem to,
Unless
it
it's.
wouldn't be
pressing,
pressing, it would have to be
So
super
get the
pressing.
21st and then the
And
11th.
having everyone have the week of the 4th off, like, I think that makes sense.
No, we had the sixth, the next meeting.
Sixth.
Sixth. Okay, yeah, all right,
Yeah,
all right.
Regular scheduled meetings, the 6th, the
Quick
20th
question.
is the town meeting,
Uh,
21st,
the-
I'm sorry.
The dedication on the town report, has that been done yet?
It went
Yes.
out yesterday? Yeah, I sent it out
What did
yesterday.
we go with?
The dedication
Yeah.
is to Ivan and Joanne Mitchell.
No, that's the memorial.
Oh, sorry.
Memorial.
Dedication is for fire and EMS.
I thought
Okay.
in memoriam was,
I think,
I was gonna
Um,
say Bob Davis would have been a one we would have considered.
He would be
This year.
next.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
All
I
right.
know it's hard to.
Jay, can I snag a ride from you?
Yeah.
I move you adjourn. All
Second.
those in favor? All right.
Done.